Check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Alrighty. We're gonna get started with a quick explainer video. All right. Give a little run through. Uh, my name is Ernest of Gaia. I work full time as a cook. I've been testing and researching and trading for almost a decade now, since 2017. And I love blockchain and Web3. Um, Check out my coin tree, see some of the past history of work that I've done, um, and schedule a meeting. Check out my Web2 and some of my Web3 socials. Mostly, I am just focused on YouTube and X or Twitter right now, um, as far as where and how I'm producing content. So that's the easiest way to follow me. Um, Music in my videos comes from Producer AI. I love it. Creating playlists, I use the daily market summaries in order to uh, create the inspiration and songs on this playlist. Again, you can follow me on YouTube. Make sure to check out my playlists, as this is where I keep most of the technical information on all the stuff that I'm learning. So whether it's TA, climate science, specifics on the Bitcoin or Ethereum protocols, um, checking out my playlists. Let me know what you like, want to see more of, and I'll continue to add to them. This week's cartoon is When the Tide Goes Out, ETF outflows, liquidations, and flight to gold. Lots of waves in the marketplace. I show each day a market summary from Perplexity Finance. It's a mixture of technical, sentimental, and fundamental analysis. Um, Basically, just been testing it out. I really don't make any trade decisions or anything based off of their product. However, I do like testing Perplexity AI, as well as Gemini, ChatGPT, and of course, Abacus AI is my favorite platform. Crypto Fear and Greed Index is always where I like to start my day. This is the only sentiment indicator that I use. And essentially, what you can see in the Crypto Fear and Greed Index is that if every day or week that you are buying at the daily close, when you are in extreme fear in particular, or even in fear, um, are generally the lows for the Bitcoin price and have been great opportunities to accumulate Bitcoin. In fact, the easiest strategy that you can probably do is to buy any day that it is in fear or extreme fear, and sell anytime that it is a little bit, any time that it is close to extreme greed, maybe even a little bit in greed. So we should be not surprised that price has been falling, as we went from greed in the beginning of the year. Uh, we had a nice little run up in the beginning of 2025, and we've essentially been coming down from those highs. And of course, now people are becoming fearful. We've hit extreme fear at 16, and I can't really move this around. Go back to the 30-day. But we can see the price has actually crossed down below the fear and greed index. So historically, not a bad time to buy, not a very risky time to buy a risk asset. Some alts, don't really talk about alts too much on this channel. Mainly I just follow Pepe. It's a deflationary token. I want to become a significant holder of Pepe. It is all on the market. But Crypto Bubbles is nice. Again, this is just to kind of keep you aware of the fact that most things are going down, even though there are some bounces along the way down. And we are in extreme fear, and so we eventually will want to be looking for bounces. Step 2, my process, Bitcoin dominance. If you understand Bitcoin dominance and you compare it with Bitcoin price, you will have a general idea about what to expect from altcoins or the alts that you are interested in. So let's do that. We have a trend. The market cap of Bitcoin has been trending up, and the price has been trending down. If we go to our chart, we go if Bitcoin dominance up and trending down, we should expect alts to dump. And alts have been trending down as well. So this is not a surprise. Over the last couple candles, we've seen a correction in the uptrend and a continued mostly downward price. And so we are not surprised that alts have been sideways and down. So we have been decreasing our exposure to alts on this way down, on this downtrend, and we would expect to continue to do so if we still have exposure. This is also a great time to take opportunities of shorting alts in order to collect more of them. So we're not surprised that things are going down. Let's look at our high time frames on Bitcoin. Have the Heikin-Ashi candle, which just helps us see the trend. The trend is our friend here. It's one of the most important things I've learned. Yes, we have a much larger uptrend long term on Bitcoin. However, what we want to do is take this opportunity of a correction and use it to our advantage in order to accumulate more Bitcoin. So we have been taking profits, and support flipping resistance is really when we started looking for targets to the downside. So what are our guardrails on the weekly time scale for Bitcoin? We have a 5 and 13 EMA cross, which signaled that we should be looking at the 50 EMA. This red and yellow is the 5 and 13 EMAs. This light blue cyan is the 50 EMA. We can see that after the cross, it did hit. So that tells us BTC's on struggle street. On the weekly time frame, the next thing that we are looking for is, are we going to close below or above the 50-week EMA. We have not yet closed below the 50-week EMA. However, there's one more day left in this candle. We have the potential to do so, but we want to see if we see 2 weekly closes below the 50 EMA, that's a signal that we may have ended the 4-year cycle, or that we're going into the we ended the highs of this current 4-year cycle, and we should be looking for new lows before new highs again. Week time frame doesn't really give us a lot of information. However, it keeps us safe with understanding the potential to the downside, which is why we are not using leverage. Down here we have weekly indicator, the BPWP, Bollinger Bandwidth percentile. This is an indicator that is non-directional, but gives us an idea of what kind of volatility we should be expecting. And when the BPWP is at the bottom, it is contracting, and as it moves up, it is expanding. So we should be reading this as to expect increased volatility over the incoming weeks. Every volatility has contractions within it to the upside, and this is where we can generally expect bounces. Again, this is non-directional, but what it tells us is we're looking for big moves, volatile moves, and at a point where the green line here, the fast line, when it begins to change direction, we should be looking for a bounce, but overall looking for big movements in a particular direction. We'll get to the direction in the middle here. What this tells us is we test it, and this is really all price action ever does, is it goes to discover highs, it goes to the mean, and then it goes to discover lows, and then it goes to the mean, and then it discovers new highs. Sometimes new highs are lower highs, sometimes they're higher highs. Again, the direction of the trend will tell us what we should be looking for, and again, we should not be surprised if after testing highs and reverting to the mean, we are now looking to test the lows. And our support target on the 4-day time frame is this high volume node right here, and the 200 EMA, which currently sits at 81,000. So we have our guardrails, 126 to the top, 81, almost 82, 82, 83 to the bottom. Okay, we should not be surprised. Now, we look down here at the bottom, we have a stochastic, which gives us the direction that we can expect. And again, we're using high time frames here. So this is why we can expect things out of the patterns. And we have a downtrending pattern, which means we should be looking for price to trend to the downside. And again, we know volatility is expanding, so we should be looking for volatile moves to the downside. And we're getting them. Now, before 82K, do we have targets before that? So we go to the 2-day time frame. 2-day time frame will give us an earlier signals and more signals. But now that we are at a key inflection point, we can start looking at our early signals here. And we can see that on the 2-day, there's a 5 EMA cross down from the 50 cloud, which equals bearish short term, because we would expect then for our next target on the 2-day to come in at the 200 EMA, and that is 90,000. So our current floor target where we can expect some volatility, where we are looking for a bounce in the upward direction, counter trend to the overall trend being down, is coming in here at 91,000. And we may even see some bullish divergence, and we should expect some red candles, which are high volume uh, candles created by market makers, um, where they are actually starting to price in uh, their longs. So we want to pay attention to these red candles on the lower time frames, higher time frames, as they tell us quite a bit. Below the 2-day time frame, here on the 2 hour, uh, we can see we have clear support, flipped resistance, and there's this big move coming down. So basically, we have bulls, they are looking for support. Bears want to hold 100K and continue the downtrend. Um, yeah, we're going to slide this one over there. So if we go from the 2-day, looking at 91, drop down to the 12-hour here. We have an Elliott wave count. We are looking for this count to become complete. And whether this is a WXY or overall an ABC, we are looking for a 5-wave move, and we're getting some divergence here, which tells us that we're beginning to end a 5-wave move. If we look at that 5-wave move on the hourly, we can see that we have a double 1 2 1 2, 3 4 5. This could be the second 1 2 complete. Or we could have, and then we would have one more 4 5 to the downside, ending in the golden pocket of this larger move up over here. So we want to, now that this steep drop has occurred, we want to watch the ranging that happens. And again, we're not surprised if it comes down to this 91 to 93K level, and find support. But we want to see confirmations of a bottom when that happens, and then we want to confirm an uptrend reversal before we start exposing ourselves to risk to the upside. Boom, boom. All right. So to review, Bitcoin looking for a little more down, looking to find a bottom, and looking to confirm an uptrend on the 1 to 4 hour time frame. And currently we are bearish on the 12-hour time frame, so we're looking for one more high and opportunity to short if RSI goes above 60 into the sell territory, and this would be on the 3-hour time frame. So very risky shorting down here. Possibly go to the 90-minute, find shorting opportunity for this, the last legs down. If you want to accumulate a little bit more Bitcoin, if you are not already completely de-risked out of your Bitcoin, normally by this time we would be mostly de-risked, and looking for places to add risk back on. Yep. So ETH, So I have been finding not using log scale to give some uh, targets and whatnot in confluence with other targets, whether it's fibs or pitchforks or trend lines. But to keep it simple, we really don't want to come down below the $2,700-$2,800 highs on Ethereum. There's no problem building support and consolidating around the 50 EMA cloud. Um, we, on the weekly, have not broke 40. This is why I watch the 5-day, is we really want to see 40 build as, if we're the bulls, want to see 40 build as support, um, and an accumulation of Ethereum to begin again in order to eventually um, move to the upside. Um, and the potential to the upside would be something like that. Currently, however, we are in a downtrend. Um, we, on the daily, broke our 5 and 13 EMA crosses, touched 50. Our target was the 200. That was hit. After hitting the 200, we came back up into the 50, rejected, and are now below the 200, looking at the 800 EMA. There we go, make that a little more visible. Now, while the 800 EMA or the 2750 618 retrace is our target, we could easily go sideways for a bit, hold the 50% retrace, and the 800 EMA would come up and help us find a bottom. You can see that we've been downtrending in a nice parallel channel. This does not mean that we can't go down further. This would be really nasty. We could easily come down to 2200, anywhere between 3000 and 2200. We are finding support right here on the 1-to-1, really close to it at 3000, which is also a good psychological number. So some wicks down below 50%, consolidating at 3000 is the bullish case for Ethereum, or what would entice me to start adding more Ethereum, would be forming some bottoming structures down here, or capitulation wicks down to the 618. We can see on the RSI that we have a bearish daily range coming into the sell territory, would have been great opportunities to de-risk. Again, if we come to the 6-hour, we could see that if we would have sold as it came into the sell territories, we would have got some pretty good shorts. So this would be our next short opportunity, recognizing that we could be just shorting into the bottoms. So it would be very short, scalpy trades, but shorts that could increase your overall amount of Ethereum, which is what we want to do. So go back to the daily. So stay safe, short to accumulate more. We're not looking to buy unless we start to see some uptrend reversals. Kind of similar thing here on Pepe. Shorting opportunities have been on the 4-hour. We can see we're coming down in a very nice pitchfork. Another 1-2, 1-2 impulse to the downside. So as the 4-5s waves play out, we are looking for price to bounce, pull up a little bit, but ultimately coming back down one more time, creating some higher divergence. Creating some divergence on the 4-hour would be nice, signaling a bottom. So, boom, boom, boom. Abacus AI, my favorite platform. I can build agents and manage projects and do all kinds of other stuff here with Abacus. I let Abacus decide which AI or LLM or image generator is best to use for my request. So Abacus AI routes me to the best LLM for the task that I want to do. So thanks for watching the stream. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Nice little test on the length and content of my videos, and hope everybody has a good day at work. I'll turn the stream on later. Have a good one.